What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. Speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have Michael Botte on of the Michael Botte Band. And we're going to get to know a little bit more about Michael Botte and his band out of Pennsylvania, and I guess really all over the country. He's been all over this country of ours and even around the planet. But mostly, he boomerangs back to Pennsylvania. So that's where his home is, and that's where his heart is, and that's where his people are. So you'll find him somewhere around the Pittsburgh and the Pennsylvania area, maybe a small town boy. But we're going to get to know about him in the next few minutes. So stick around. This week's shows, let's see, I have one public show at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, my usual Friday night gig, the video dance party, karaoke jam. Yes, I said karaoke. You're the stars of the show. We got a stage. It's a little concert starring each and every one of you. You get to be the stars of the show, at least for a few minutes, whatever a song takes. Sing your favorite songs. People come up to me all the time. Keys Dan, what song should I sing? What kind of crowd is it? You should sing whatever song you like. If you were born in the 70s, or if you like the 70s, you sing the 70s. You like the 80s, you like the 90s, you like metal, you like gospel music. I've had somebody sing a gospel song right after a Tenacious D song. Yeah, okay? So you'll have all kinds of music, and it's all kinds of fun. Video dance party, karaoke jam. And I said video dance. There's a big, giant dance floor. A lot of fun at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas on Friday nights. They got a full bar, kitchen, good food in that kitchen. The more you eat, the more you can drink. It's not me, it's science. Don't look that up. I made it up. I'm scientific, kind of. Fuzzy science. Also, they got 10 diamond-style pool tables. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool, they got a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, come on out to the Rab, Conway, Arkansas. Friday night, I'll be there from 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the a.m. Get there early and stay there late and have a good time at the Rab. All right, that's enough intro. Let's get into it with Michael Botte of the Michael Botte Band. I got him on video on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check the video version on my YouTube page, youtube.com/user/KeysDan. Skyping Michael Botte now. And there he is, man. Michael Botte in the house. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Hey, brother. Oh, we delaying?
No. What was the pronunciation of your name?
It's Botte. It's Italian.
Botte. Oh, je suis de l'huile de soie. I think that was like a cockamamie French.
That was
really. They're really, really bad. Chapeau means hat. Ouf means egg. Those French have a different word for everything. But Italian, I'm half Cuban, which makes people half mad sometimes. But, we grow. And I know Italian and Spanish are very close in nature. So I'm sure if I went to Italy, I remember when I was a kid, I was at vocational school down in Fort Lauderdale. And I would stop on the way from high school to the vocational school. This is my senior year, and I was learning electronics back then. And I would stop at a hot dog stand, and it was an Italian girl, and she would say, "I am from Italy." Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much because she always sat there in a bikini selling her hot dogs. But that's what girls do. They sell their hot dogs wearing a bikini. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Michael Botte. In fact, my wife just made me a chicken. So if I'm licking my lips and doing a little smacking and maybe some ASMR for the listener, it's her fault. She fed me a piece of chicken. And it was delicious. Oh, but it was so good, homemade. She rubbed it with something and put it in the oven. and cooked it up real nice. I mean, but being an Italian and being, of that persuasion, the food is what you get when you go to Italy. But tell me about Michael Botte, and then we'll get into all things Michael Botte.
Well, it's boring. I was not born in Italy. I'm an American. I'm an Italian American, right? Yeah. So, thanks for doing this, brother. I'm glad we finally got to hook up. This is awesome. Michael Botte, I was born and raised in a small little steel town along the Ohio River, right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Small little blue-collar town, steel mills everywhere. My whole growing up, Dan, I'm telling you, was, riding bikes, playing ball, chasing the girls around, and fishing. That's what I did growing up.
But that's what kids did when, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even, they were going outside and playing. If you wanted to know where all the kids were, you looked for the house that had the bicycles sitting out front. Oh, that's where everybody's at. They're all at Dan's house. They're all at Mike's house. They're all at, they're all over there. Where that's how you find people. You don't have to look it up on a phone. We didn't have a phone. The phones were attached to a cord in our house. So we, and I know this is like old man corner, like really right off the jump. But I don't even know what year you grew up in. I mean, you say you're from a steel town. I'm guessing Pennsylvania because Pittsburgh Steelers. Steel is very important to the whole state of Pennsylvania. I think that's what it grew out of. Tell me about a steel. And was your family part of that?
Yeah, I will say my entire family, my father, my uncles, my brother, cousins, were all involved in the steel industry. But for my father, who worked, his fingers to the bone, shift work, late nights, it was rough work. And he and my mom wanted something different for me, and not better, just something different. So fortunately, they encouraged me to go to school, and I went to Penn State University and got my degree in chemical engineering. So my path was just different than my father and mother's path. They were blue collar kids. They just didn't want that for me. And that's the path that I took. So I'm appreciative for them for doing that. But I never personally was involved in the steel industry. But I will tell you, there were some rough times, man, especially in the 80s when a lot of things were fun in the Botte household. My parents kept things together. They kept things together.
Well, I noticed that on your YouTube page, you have a lot of tributes to the Penn State, using your songs, covering, some of the foosball, Bobby Boucher, foosball, playing some of the games. But, I'm from Miami. It's all about the University of Miami, but I never went there. I did go there, but for lunch, it was delicious. I never actually went to school there, but I went to Broward. But what can you do with chemical engineering? What did you do with chemical engineering?
That's a great question. I did not become a chemical engineer. I could tell you that much. From day one of my career, I went into technical sales. So I've been in the sales game for 32 years now. This is my 32nd year in the sales game. So I just, I love that technical aspect, but it's just not something I wanted to do. I wanted to be out and moving and shaking and have some business acumen, behind me. So I went into the sales world. Yeah, a long, long time ago, 32 years ago.
Well, it's a pretty interesting job being in the sales game. You have to sell yourself before anything else. You have to believe in the product or service that you're selling. I've been in sales over the years. I've sold, I think my favorite thing that I ever sold was fitness. I was at Bally's Total Fitness in Orlando, Florida for about a year. The only thing that I didn't like about it was the high pressure of it all, to where you had to sell 5 sales a day, 5 memberships a day, and 5 days a week, and $1,000 each person. So you're sucking $1,000 out of each person. And this is in the mid 90s. That's like $1.5 million right now in these days. So, $1,000 membership. And then you'd notice after a while that people aren't showing up after 2 weeks, and they're still stuck in these $1,000 commitments. So it's like, it was starting to get into my conscience. But, if my dad was a used car salesman, I didn't know him very well, but I know that he had sales. So I must have it in my blood. I sold it, but I know that if you like the product, the service, you could sell it. And it takes a very interesting person, but different kinds of sales jobs. The best sales jobs, in my opinion, are the ones on commission, because you set your own salary. If you want it,
Yeah.
You if you want to make a bunch of money, you go out and work. I don't know. What kind of sales jobs did you have or have you had?
Yeah, for me, it's always been, big corporate America, business to business kind of things, a lot of heavy equipment, big equipment. Right now I work for a life science company, and we outfit big research laboratories with their equipment. So very rewarding. And over COVID, that's whenever a lot of things really went kind of crazy because all the research was being done and all of our equipment and things were being used in that research. So it was pretty busy for us. You'd be surprised over COVID. Although I did have enough time to start the Michael Botte Band, because that's when that was born, was over COVID. But the business world still kept me a little bit busy, but not nearly what it used to be. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, people were working by themselves. So they needed some things to occupy themselves. So they needed the tools. I need a microscope. I need I don't know, big equipment or small equipment. What kind of equipment are you selling to these people?
It's mostly bigger equipment, capital equipment. Yeah, not the small stuff, more capital equipment to run buildings and run laboratories, ultra pure water, that kind of thing. So it's more equipment side, bigger equipment.
That is fantastic, man. This is primarily a learning podcast, and I'm learning from you, Michael Botte. One of the things that I did see on your YouTube website, not only do you have a few songs out there that are so beautiful, so dulcet, there is one song that I did see, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was one that was a little more upbeat, but for the most part, like Radiate and New Rising Sun, beautiful songs, real, backyard party, chill, having some drinks and hanging out with friends and having Michael Botte in the background. But one thing that you did, you had a comparison between your music demo and a professionally done song. The demo that you had for what song was it?
Yeah, it was New Rising Sun.
Fantastic. Well, tell me about that. What gave you the inclination to actually teach people that having a produced song is going to be a whole lot better than trying to put demos out there? There's a lot of SoundCloud DJs, SoundCloud musicians. They'll record something on their iPhone or on their computer, which sounds okay, but unless you have a discerning ear, somebody who's been doing it for a long time that can add effects and really fill out the sound for you. I mean, tell me about that process for New Rising Sun.
Yeah, so New Rising Sun is the first song that my current producer, Bob Beals, from Sound Foundation Studios, and I did together. So I'd sent him the demo. I recorded some demos over COVID. Like I said, the Michael Botte Band was born over COVID. So I voraciously studied and learned how to record and bought some equipment and tried to figure things out and how to produce a little bit. So I was making demos and sent them out around in different Facebook groups and different, companies and all this stuff. And this guy, Bob, just, kind of liked some of the things that he heard. And then finally, when it came to New Rising Sun, I said, I have this demo. Should we do something together? Because we had been talking for quite some time. And I said, you know what, it's time. So I gave him that demo. And I'll never forget the day that he sent me back, like, you do the dance. There's a couple of cuts, a couple of swings at it and hit or miss. And you do the dance a little bit and you talk about the technical sides of the song. But I'll never forget whenever he finally sent me back the finished product. My wife and I were sitting outside and she was like, that sounds like your song. I'm like, well, baby, it is my song. But this is what a producer does. It makes it sound way better than how I can make it sound. So in order to, honor him or give him props, I made that quick little video, a minute and a half to show what my demo sounded like and then what a 40 plus year veteran in the music industry can make it sound like. And it was very different.
Yeah, your demo was decent. It was listenable. I heard it.
Yeah.
It was the bare bones of a song. But when you send it to the producer, he added overdubbing, some effects, maybe a little echo on this part. Did he actually play any more instruments or add more instruments, or was this all your instruments alone?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, everything we do, I arrange everything, I write everything, every note. But what I play is just the rhythm and then all the vocals. He takes care of all the rest of the music. Now, of course, we talk about what we want, guitar tones we want, what the kick should sound like. We talk about all this stuff, but he's responsible for adding those things. Now, I do in my demo, not that particular demo, but other demos, I will put a lot of different elements in there, effects and synth and, guitars and drums and all these different things to get my vision over to him. But then by the end of the day, he'll and usually it comes out a whole lot better whenever he does it.
Well, tell me about the gear that you have to make yourself a demo that's even that good enough to where a Bob would say, "Hey, that Mike's got something. That Michael Botte's got something. I want to produce."
Yeah, that's a big question. I know in all these different forums I'm in and indie groups, it's a big question about what like the home studio looks like, right? So for me, you're going to laugh, but I recorded every single word I've ever sung. I think I'm on my 7th. Friday's my next release. I think it's my 7th or 8th, whatever it is. Every single sound has been recorded in this room, in a spare bedroom, with a 25-year-old Shure SM57 microphone and a pop filter and 2 dogs at my feet.
The Shure SM57.
So that answers your question. Not a whole lot.
No, the SM57 and the SM58 are the industry standards for the longest time. Yes, I'm using a Shure SM7B, which is also an industry standard. It's the one that Thriller was recorded on. So people want to reproduce that sound. But unless you have the discerning ear, unless you have the skills to pay the bills, as it were, you cannot make a Thriller. You cannot make even a PYT, nothing, unless you got the skills. But Michael Botte, I was talking to another musician, singer songwriter on this podcast, Kendra and the Bunnies. Now she admitted that the Bunnies are her. She is the Bunnies. She is Kendra. She is the Bunnies. Now, is the Michael Botte Band Michael Botte overdubbed and oversound and is it all you, or do you have people that play with you?
So it's funny. My producer actually asked me if I was ever going to go back to just like Michael Botte, not Michael Botte Band, because there isn't really technically a band. But I always knew that if I'm going to do this gig, there's going to be more people than just me involved. So I wanted to use my name, and I did this great word smash thing where you take my name, add the word band. See where I'm going? And it pluralizes it. So I always knew that was going to be the case. So like I said, I play the rhythm and do all the vocals, and Bob does all the rest of the instruments. He does have a couple of guitar players, a couple of drummers he could use, but for the most part, he plays everything else based on the vision and based on some of the cues that I give him. But the final cut is him actually playing the bass, lead guitar, putting the drums in, that kind of thing.
Now
and piano. We're starting to use piano a lot more. He has access to a piano out there, I believe. We're 10 hours away. I've never actually sat in the room with my producer yet. It's bizarre. So bizarre. We're 10 hours away.
Oh, it's incredible that you can use
release in October.
Yeah, you can use the internet for good. You could send your tracks to a producer, and he could send them right back to you via the interwebs. That's fantastic.
Interweb.
Yeah. Now, are you okay? This iteration, the Michael Botte Band, you say is only about 3 or 4 years old, maybe 3.5, 4 years old since the pandemic, since the COVID came around. But before that, you had to have been playing something. You had to have been a part of other bands. Tell me where a young Michael Botte started to get his love for music.
Yeah, right on. Well, if you go all the way back, honestly, Dan, I always joke that my father sang more than he spoke. So growing up all the time, and he never professionally or anything, but he was always involved in like so many local groups, like barbershop quartets, that a cappella, multiple harmonies, very difficult music. And then he was the leader of the church choir. So I'm up there, the church choir, we're doing our thing, singing, doing our thing. And then he was a member of like local theater groups, like My Fair Lady, Fiddler on the Roof, and Sound of Music, the big productions. And Dan, I would go to all those productions, the practices. And I will tell you, as like a young kid, memorizing some of the words to Fiddler on the Roof did not make me the coolest kid in town, if I were a rich man. But we made I made it. So that was early on.
No, you could have been Tevye. Man, did you ever get involved in any of these productions? Because that's, Fiddler on the Roof, amazing. My favorite musical is West Side Story, but Fiddler on the Roof is definitely up there in top 10 at least. But whenever it comes on, whenever I see it on a regular TV station, I gotta sit, I gotta watch, I gotta see what's Tevye up to, what's he doing, man. Topol did a great job. Now, what's funny, the quick trivia on Fiddler on the Roof, the movie, it was directed by a man named Norman Jewison. Now, the producers picked Norman Jewison because they thought he was Jewish. And he said,
oh, come on.
And they said, hey, can you do this movie for us? Yeah, sure, I could do this movie. He was Canadian and not Jewish at all. And he just, after they signed on the dotted line and all the papers were signed and I guess the check was in the mail or whatever, he says, I'm not Jewish, right? Yeah.
That's hilarious.
And that's one of the most Jewish films ever made. And it's fantastic.
So that was way early on. I dug that. And then I really never started. I got married in 95. So time of change, right? I thought, you know what? I'm going to grab this thing called a guitar and try to figure this thing out. Went to the pawn shop and bought the cheapest guitar for $40 or whatever it was. And Dan, I'm telling you, I swear, I thought you just held a few strings down. You kind of stroked it very gently and all these angelic sounds were going to come out. And I will tell you, that is not the way it worked for me. My wife was very unhappy with my lack of skill with the guitar. And I threw it out the window. Literally, it shattered the whole thing. And then fast forward many years later, we were living in San Francisco in the Bay Area, Oakland, California. And I met this traveling guy from Australia who was a really good guitar player. We became friends. He taught me some stuff and we were writing a little bit together and doing some stuff together. And then, life takes over. He goes back to Australia and then hooked up with these other guys who were kind of rockers. So we formed this little garage band called LFR. And I will tell you, we were a garage band, Dan, that never really wanted to leave the garage because it was so fun in the garage. But that's where that Shure SM57 came from. I bought that in the early 2000s or whatever to try to record. We thought we were going to record stuff and do some things that never worked out that way. But that's where that Shure SM57 came from. And then fast forward to 2020, I had time on my hands. The world shut down. My daughter was a drummer in a couple bands at her local rock school, Let There Be Rock School of Rock. And then I had time. I just wasn't traveling for work and she wasn't doing all her things for sports. And I had time, man. And that's when the Michael Botte Band was formed.
Well, so much to unpack in that little bit of a story. First of all, 1995, you get married. And, I didn't know that 12-year-olds were allowed to get married back in 95.
Yeah.
My goodness, you cannot be that old, bro. Nope. Did you just get married right out of high school? Was a high school sweetheart or what?
No, I was, how old was I? I was 20. So I'm 54 now. I was 25. She was 22. I'm 54 now. So yeah, that's about right, I guess. Is that right?
Yeah.
We're almost 30 years. Oh my God. We're almost 30 years. Oh, geez.
Wow. Okay. All right. And I'm 55 myself. So we're about the same age. We ate a lot of the same dirt. Grew up in the 80s. I understand. I'm starting to understand where you come from and how that cool sound that you that comes out your mouth is made. It's beautiful, man. It's like ballads. You were made to sing that cool backyard party, good time music, man. There are a couple of at least one really upbeat one that's real guitar driven. I can't remember exactly which one it was, but I know that Radiate and New Rising Sun, beautiful little songs. But Married in 95.
Leave This Town.
Leave This Town. That's the one.
Might be Leave This Town.
That's the one. It's real upbeat and peppy. Oh, it was out of left field when I'm listening to the other stuff, and I'm going, hey, how'd that come about? No, okay. Are you going in thinking that you want to do some easier listening music, or you're not limiting yourself, or what is it you want to play as the Michael Botte Band? What can people expect?
Dan, we kind of mistakenly fell into that country rock sort of vibe, Americana country rock. So the first releases New Rising Sun and Here We Go, Leave This Town, Beautiful Day, My Way, were all in that kind of country rock realm, which was fine. It just kind of happened by accident, but it really wasn't my strength. It really wasn't where my heart was. So Radiate was our first breakout into that more pop rock, but we did leave a banjo. There is a banjo in the chorus and in the second verse of Radiate to kind of make that transition into that more pop rock. And then, like I said, Friday, March 1st, I'm going to plug this, of course, is the next release called I Got a Song, which is very much in that pop rock world. And it's really a song I kind of wrote it for us as us musicians. So the song's all about us musicians who sometimes can have trouble communicating through traditional means, even something like this. However, Dan, you know this. When you give us a chance to use our art as our voice, man, we speak volumes, oceans, galaxies of information. So that's what I Got a Song coming March 1st is all about.
Well, especially if people are responding to it. If you have fans that are at least writing to you with this social media thing, we can all get in touch with each other. And do people get a hold of you? And are you playing out as the Michael Botte Band? Because I don't know how you got to San Francisco and came across this garage band, but that sounded like a good time. Were people coming to the garage and moving and grooving and having a good time in the garage?
Oh yeah, it was a blast.
Well, I mean, tell me.
It was a blast. It was an absolute blast. Yeah.
I mean, were you able to? Were you able to monetize that? Were people giving donations to the garage fund, or was this all pure for love and really learning how to be a musician?
It cost us beer money. It cost us beer money.
I remember my first gig in the 80s when I was in the high school. I was the guy with the record player, and I would play records at all the little garage parties. But then I got my first gig in 86 at a wedding. I made $50, but I rented the equipment from Guitar Center for $75. I didn't make any money, okay, but I loved it. It was a learning experience, and that's how you learn. You being in the garage playing for folks, that's how you get that energy transference. Yeah. I don't know how much you believe in stuff like that. I mean, you grew up a fine Christian boy with the gospel music, playing in the choir. What's your favorite choir song?
Probably Rugged Cross, the old Rugged Cross. I mean, that was always one my dad always loved. I can't remember a lot of those. I kind of left that world a little bit a while back, but I can't remember all of them. But the old Rugged Cross, I remember, was a tune that the parents used to love. I can't remember everything about it now, but that was one.
Oh, I know. Down in South Florida, I was born into a Catholic family, but now I'm an American. You grow. And that's not my joke. That's George Carlin's joke, the late, great George Carlin. But yeah,
I love George Carlin.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I mean, growing up in the 80s, you had George Carlin and Bill Cosby. Oh, man. Bill, what happened? Yeah. What happened, man?
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor.
Eddie Murphy. Sure. His first Eddie Murphy, Delirious.
Delirious
was absolutely insane. His first show ever, Delirious, was phenomenal.
Well, I know it was all fart jokes for the most part. The first album, but then Raw, he just like broke out of. He became Eddie Murphy in Raw. We got a taste of it in Delirious.
Yeah,
but he became Eddie Murphy in Raw with that purple leather suit. If you watched it live, but I had the records, man. I had the records and I played them over and over and over again. But you had your musical influence from Dad. Dear old Dad was playing all kinds of music and singing. I imagine your dad, doing the dishes, singing "Oh Sole Mio." Was that racist? I don't know if that was racist.
Anything. He would sing. He would just sing his speech. He just loved to sing. I always loved to try to harmonize. Anything you'd say, he'd try to harmonize with it. It was just the funniest little things that he would do,
Well, it's Italian. I mean, I don't know if he spoke Italian, but Italian is kind of a singing type. It's very harmonious. Yeah. The language. It's beautiful to listen to.
It's una canzone. They say it's una canzone. It's like a song. Yeah.
And you start talking with your hands a lot. I'm half Cuban, like I said. So we talk with our hands quite a bit. Anybody that's listening to the audio version of this, you're missing so much. Check out the video version with Michael Botte right there, just working his hands, doing the whole thing. I imagine that family reunions, you're talking over each other. And if somebody's talking, they're talking louder. I mean, is there a lot of family? Does Michael Botte have a lot of family close in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, we do a lot with my family, but really my wife's 100% Italian. She's from New York, so we go to her family for a lot of the holidays, and it is you've never seen displays of just cuisine like, well, at least I don't think so, like this. It's just phenomenal. The cuisine that comes out of the kitchen. My wife cooks, her mother cooks, and her grandmother cooks. I mean, that's just what they like to do. It's not that they have to do it. They want to do it. They love to do it. And I love to let them do it because I get to eat it all.
I love how you described your wife as 100% Italian from New York. I thought the 100% Italians were all from Italy. Maybe that's just me. Semantics, right? Semantics. But anyway, how did you get to San Francisco from Pennsylvania? What took you over there?
So I've lived in all 4 time zones. It's funny. I started in Pittsburgh, lived in all 4 time zones in the U.S., and then ended up back on the other side of Pennsylvania. Just growing up, I don't know. I grew up in that little town with, not even a stoplight, Dan, was in my town. It wasn't much. I'm not saying it wasn't enough. It just wasn't much, but I just felt like I wanted to see something else and just learn. And I was always that kid that had a little bit of a wild spirit that wanted to know what was around the corner. And my wife did too when I married her. So we just took off. Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin, Oakland, California, Montpelier, Vermont, Albuquerque, New Mexico, where our daughter was born. And then from Albuquerque, finally, we made our way to Philadelphia. So just always wanted to live in different places and experience different things.
Well, those are very different places, and that gives you fodder for singer-songwriter. All this is inspiration. I'm sure going across this great country of ours, you have, you've experienced life, and that's where a lot of these songs might have come from. I mean, do you remember anything specific from any part of your life, from any place in your life that a song was just written about that? It just fell out of your head and said, hey, I need to write a song about this.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them, actually. I'm one of those guys. My songwriting style is really, it's a wreck. I wish, and I'll answer your question, but I wish I could write songs where I could just say, hey, it's Sunday afternoon. I'm going to get a pen and paper. I'm going to go sit under a sycamore tree and write a song. Dan, I'm the idiot that wakes up at 3 a.m. with a chorus. I'm like, oh my God, I got to write this down. And I get to my phone and type in gibberish that I try to decipher the next day. Or I sneak and I try to sing a melody or something into my voice to happen. And my wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm a wreck when it comes to that. So most songs do come like lightning bolt moments. And so New Rising Sun was one that, was written back in New Mexico when we were, our daughter was born. The whole song is really about life, love, and accepting change. We were out in the desert of New Mexico loving everything, but my 1.5-year-old daughter missed her Nona and missed her family and cried for her cousins. And so finally we were like, what are we doing out here in the desert? It's just time to go back east. So New Rising Sun is just accepting that change and willing to change and do something for the greater good, maybe not necessarily for your greater good, but for the grander, the grand greater good, if you will, if that makes any sense. So we just did that. And that was what a New Rising Sun was. So yeah, that was one of those songs that just came out of nowhere. I needed to say it and we needed to move, and we did.
Well, I'm thinking that you need a better method to record your songs, especially record your ideas, especially in the middle of the night while your sweet honey is sitting right next to you trying to get some 40 winks in, and she's only on 20, and you're waking her up in the middle of the night. Come on, son. No, but you had a daughter in Albuquerque in New Mexico, and you made yourself a little musician, a drummer. You got the rhythm section back there, baby. How old is she, and when did she start drumming?
So she was drumming. So she went to a little music school called Let There Be Rock. It's like 10 minutes from our house. And she was probably there from like 12 to like 14, 15-ish. And then, life changed and she had different interests. Kids changed her mind. But she got into it pretty quickly and was in 2 bands. And she actually played at a soccer stadium, around the grounds for a tournament. And she got to do some really cool stuff, played in a lot of bars. And it was really fun for her. And she's the one who told me over COVID, like, Dad, like, why can't you try to make music or something? And I thought, you know what? You're right. I have time. What am I doing here? So yeah, she got to do some cool stuff, but then life changed and she has different interests now, as kids do. So she's 18 now. She'll be going to college here soon.
Hey, all you need is 2 pieces, man. Look at the White Stripes. They did it, man.
Black Keys.
Black Keys. Oh, Black Keys, right? It's not the White Stripes that I'm thinking of. It's that Black Keys was a 2-piece, or is the White Stripes a 2-piece as well?
Same with White Stripe. Yep. Jack White. Yep. Jack White.
And I remember down in Coconut Grove in Miami, I went to an open mic, and there was a drummer. Well, he really wasn't a drummer. He was playing on a 5-gallon bucket, and a bassist. And my goodness, they had me mesmerized for 45 minutes. Just the rhythm of a bassist and a bass and a drum. Pal.
Yep.
It was so good. So good. Now, did you make any music with your daughter that's recorded, that's out there for the world to hear?
No, we did not. That dream died pretty quickly. No, we never got a chance to do that, but that's okay. We had some good jam sessions, some really cool jam sessions that I'll never forget. Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to have them recorded, video, or it didn't happen. That's what the kids are saying today.
I do have some video. Okay. I have some video. I do.
Okay. So when America's Got Talent comes a calling, you got something to play. But that's good, man. You've raised you raised her. Looks like she's a fine, upstanding citizen. She's heading off to school. Is she going to be a chemical engineer? Maybe following the footsteps you didn't go to?
Absolutely not. My kiddo, I don't know where this came from, but she works with her hands. She's studying with Toyota right now to be a Toyota master mechanic. So she'll be going to their Toyota accelerated program in Philadelphia to be a master mechanic. So it's impressive, my little one. She's a unicorn.
That is fantastic, man. You got to know computers with the cars these days. There's no moving parts. It's all it's an appliance now, especially with the new electric cars that are coming out. It's all a battery and magnets. So I'm kind of excited for the future of what's happening in because I guess eventually we're going to run out of fossil fuel, so we need to find something different. So maybe your daughter will be part of that change, part of that future.
Probably will be.
I'm excited.
Her generation probably will be. Yep.
No, I'm excited. I have an 18-year-old myself, and she is, right on. I'm counting on her to save us, save the future, save the world. But I'm sure even if we're not here, the world is still going to go spinning around and round. But okay, something I had on my head while you were talking was what was that first guitar that you picked up? And was it an acoustic or electric? And what kind of guitar was that you couldn't play that your wife was very mad about?
So the first one that I threw out the window, I don't know what it was. I have no clue. But when I finally bought a guitar at the Guitar Center in El Cerrito, California, I think it was, in the 90s. It was called Mitchell. I don't even know what Mitchell is. And it's the guitar hanging. Well, it was hanging back there.
Well, I see something blurry back there.
Day. Yeah, that's my electric. That's just an Epiphone. That's like a Gibson knockoff, But that Mitchell little acoustic.
No, I had a Squire Strat, man. And it sounded great. But the only thing is it would get knocked out of tune pretty quick. 3 or 4 songs in, I got to tune it back up.
Yeah.
But the Ibanez 120 was one that I had. And then my grandma, she went nuts and bought an Esteban on television because it was on the Home Shopping Network. So I had an acoustic guitar for a little while and that I could not play. I cannot play any of these guitars. I had a doctor that was trying to teach me the blues. I was working at the hospital, and he was trying to teach me some jazz and blues chords, and he taught me some scales and tectonic scales or whatever. And it didn't take, man. How did you find the wherewithal to? I mean, did you go to school? You said you went to school for music, or did you not? Did you learn all on your own?
No, I've never, this is probably not a good thing. I never took a lesson of any sort ever in my life for anything musically, guitar or vocals. I mean, for guitar, for me, thank goodness, I'm just 4 chords and a cloud of dust, right? You have the people around you that take care of the leads and the fills and that kind of thing. My job in the band is 4 chords, a cloud of dust, and the vocals. So that's good for me. That's my lane. And I've learned as I've been doing this to stay in your lane. I want to write, I want to play, sing, and then you fill out the parts around you with the people that make you better. So I learned that the hard way when I first started this gig. I thought I was just going to do everything myself, and nah, I'm not that talented.
Well, Michael Botte, you have something in common with Ferris Bueller. You being from the 80s, you know all well who Ferris Bueller is. He was playing his clarinet while he was pretending to be sick, and he said, never had one lesson.
Never had one lesson, that's right.
And it showed. But
I hope I sound a little bit better than what he did.
But you do, man. How did you? I mean, did you teach yourself with tabs or you watching YouTube? I guess even in '95 there was no YouTube, so there were tabs. I mean, what were you teaching yourself with?
So I met this, like I mentioned briefly, I met this guy, Sebastian Beltrami was his name, from Australia, and he's one of my best friends to this day.
Cool.
He was like, I'll teach you some stuff. And we had some little books, and open up the book and it tell you where to put your fingers for a G and where to put your fingers for a D. It's so bizarre to think about that now. And then finally the internet came a little bit more and you could look up tabs and things. But he just taught me, basic chord structure, and I don't know, you play a bar chord, you just slide it all the way up and you got 12 more chords, right? So it's pretty easy to do that way once you learn the bar chord structures. And that's all we did. And I just kind of got into that kind of rhythm and just kept the rhythm and sang the songs. And that's just where I stayed. Well,
famously, I guess you don't need too many chords to become famous. Ted Nugent famously gets called Two-Finger Ted. But there is... Man, you did. You are a teacher of sorts. I don't know if you meant to become a teacher, but the last video that you have on your YouTube is talking about one of the most comforting chord progressions. How did you come across this chord progression? And why did you decide to make a video about it?
So that I was watching a reel or something, as you do, right, on YouTube, and this guy was talking about comforting chord progressions, and one that he talked about was that A, C sharp minor, B. I'm like, oh, that's great, that's cool. And then I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, that's my song Radiate. That's the song I just released. Wait a minute, A, C sharp minor, B. I'm like, well, that's pretty interesting. So that's why I put up that little video saying, hey, if you like the song Radiate, if it's comforting, well, guess what? It's in this chord structure, A, C sharp minor, B, which, according to this professional musician, was very comforting. So I thought that was a really cool thing that just came out of nowhere. And the song was way released before I saw that video. It was written years ago. So I didn't know that at the time, but apparently A, C sharp minor, B is a very comforting progression, Dan.
No, it's amazing how music over the years, over the centuries, is exactly the same. It's the chord progression. This is going to make you happy. This is going to make you sad. This might make you mad. Yep. If I play stuff like this, it's going to make you feel erratic. It might make you sick to your stomach. It's amazing what music can do. I'm going to ask you, a professional musician, is there a brown note? Is there a note that can make you go brown in your pants? Have you ever heard of the brown note?
I don't know, make you go brown. No.
No? Okay, all right. Is
there a note?
Supposedly, there's a note so low that it'll make your stomach feel like you got to go to the bathroom.
Oh, get that bass going.
But I don't know. I've never heard it. I've never experienced that. But I have experienced music that has made me happy, sad, nauseous, glad that I was there. I wish I wasn't there. It's crazy what music can do to the soul, and it can make people change their minds. Now, Michael Botte, are you taking that band out on the road? Is there a group of people that you can play with, or are you taking it out as a solo act where you grab your guitar and you go sit off in a cafe and make people happy that way? Well, what is it that the Michael Botte Band is doing on the road or sessions only?
Yeah, so back in September, I think it was, I signed with a record company, Big Records, out of Vancouver, and they put together different tours and do different things. Of course, Dan, you were on one of the calls. So they do different things. So there's some talk of things happening. I doubt you've heard about these yet, but there's some talk about some tours and things going on. And, my name might get thrown in there. I don't really know exactly, but there was some rumblings of something like that. But it's all very, very basic and very simple. There is another Big Records artist who has a phenomenal band that could possibly be my band, if I'm on the front, and they could be my backup band. So we'll see how it works. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but there's definitely discussion moving that forward.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Big Records. I know Mark is the head of that company, and he's definitely a dreamer, and he has the vision to put things together. These are shows like the ones that I've done down in Miami. If you want to put on a show, you put on a show, kind of like Wayne's World. If anybody's watched Wayne's World 2, especially, they wanted to put on a show. If you book them, they will come. If you call a bunch of bandmates or a bunch of people that sing, and you say, hey, there's going to be a stage over there at that time on this date. Would you like to be on that stage in front of those people? And generally, you're going to get some yeses. You might get a few no's, but you're going to get some yeses. So I'm glad that you have this family of like-minded musicians that would like to put on a show, and you might end up having a festival. I mean, I was listening to a podcast with Paul McCartney, and he was saying how the Beatles used to only put on 45-minute shows at the most, half hour, 45-minute. That was it. That was all they had to do. And then Bruce Springsteen comes along and does a 4.5-hour show. I was at the Orange Bowl in 1984, and I saw Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA. He collapses after 3 hours and 45 minutes. He goes off to the back for about 10, 15 minutes because Clarence Clemons, the late, great Clarence Clemons, took him back there. He comes back out. He plays for another 45 minutes. And that affected the whole band, playing out. People expect to see a 1, 2, 3, 4 hour show. And just, Michael Botte, could you do that all by yourself? Or are you glad you have other bands and other like-minded musicians that would be happy to share the stage with you?
I will tell you, this ride, I would be happy to share the stage with other folks to get their music out to be heard, no different than me. I would love to do that. The Bruce Springsteens of the world, those are unicorns. I mean, something like that is insane. And the Foo Fighters aren't too far behind him. They do some very long, very, very intricate sets, and God bless them. If I ever had a chance to do something like that, I would be happy to share the time with somebody else on that stage.
Yeah, but even the Foo Fighters, Billy Joel, Elton John, all these long, long shows that people go out and it's like, wow, I better pack a lunch. You know, I better take a nap before I go and see this concert. But you're happy to see them. Yeah. You're happy to be there. I'm happy to go out and see a Michael Botte Band show. And, you know, because you're going to put on quite an experience. I mean, if they come out to one of your shows, what are they going to see? What can they expect out of Michael Botte and his band? Is it going to be pyrotechniques and explosions and, you know, pigs flying around in the air like Pink Floyd? Or is it going to be a little more subdued? I
was at that show, yeah.
Oh, dude, I was at moment. Was it Animals? Animals. That was, oh, my goodness.
95. I saw them in 95. Oh. I saw them in 94, 95. That was the Animals, yeah.
Pigs flying, man. Pigs flying.
You know, for me, I mean, so a couple other DJs have told me that they feel that the music that I make is somewhat freeing. You're trying to free yourself from something, some kind of bondage, some sort of negative energy or something like that. You know, Leave This Town, Beautiful Day, Radiate, certainly. I close my eyes and I radiate. So I'm hoping my message is positive. And honestly, Dan, I always tell people I want my music to do one of three things, preferably all three. But if I can get you to move, think, or feel, I'd love to get all three of those. But if I can make you at least move, think, or feel, then we all win. And some of my songs, you know, one of my songs was more of a ballad called My Way, our first ballad that we did, kind of. And that was more of a like make you feel kind of song. You know, Radiate, maybe more of a move. I don't know. Maybe a little bit of a think. I don't know. But if I can get one of those three things, that's what you're going to get at a Michael Botte Band show.
Hey, were you writing songs in San Francisco when you were with the garage band as well? And
yeah,
are any of those songs still alive?
A few. So we wrote four. And it was funny is my drummer put up a YouTube video of one of our rehearsals, and it's on YouTube. One of our rehearsals. I mean, the audio, honestly, Dan, what's funny, there's a rusty nail, and the Shure SM57 is hanging from a rusty nail. And that's how we would like videotape ourselves just to remember the songs. We wouldn't know how to remember them. So we would just make a quick, there's a camcorder with a 1/4-inch connection to a rusty nail with an SM57 hanging down. That's how we made a couple of videos, so we remember the songs. And they're on YouTube. I got to find out where they are. They're on YouTube somewhere.
Yeah, and that would make
the audio is awful.
Yeah, that would be no. It doesn't have to. The audio doesn't have to be great because the video portion of it, you take that and then you overdub the actual produced song, and you got a music video for MTV that doesn't play music videos anymore, which I'm very sad about that. Oh man, I'm old man corner again. Here we go. I
want my MTV.
Oh, I want my MTV. I miss when they used to play music videos. It was so interesting, man. Yeah. I would sit, I would have MTV over there and I would have Atari 2600 over here. Yeah. Do I sound like I was rich? Am I bragging? Yes, I am. I'm bragging. I had two TVs, one for music videos and one for Atari 2600. Yes.
Right. I had Atari. Yep.
You better believe it, man. Well, okay, you're getting inspired by all the travels across the world, plus, all over the country. Have you been out of the country? Have you been anywhere else?
Yeah, so back in 2003, so I guess I was working 10 years at that point, my wife and I read a book, Dan, that just completely ruined me. I read a book called On the Road by Jack Kerouac, and I was 32 years old, and within 6 months, my wife and I sold everything after reading that goddamn book. I don't know if you know that book.
Yeah. Did you get your kicks on Route 66 or what?
Yeah. So we backpacked around the world for a while. I just dropped out of society for a while and wrote a lot of music during that time. As a matter of fact, one of those songs, My Way, was finished in Nepal, and that's the one I just recorded and put out like 8 months ago or 6 months ago. So yeah, we've been to some places. Yeah, we've seen some things. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful. It's nice to be well traveled. I've never been out of this country, unless you count the Conch Republic. Back in the late 70s, Key West seceded from the Union and applied for foreign aid because they figured that's how they can get money. In a drunken stupor, the mayor of Key West said, "Hey, I'm going to apply for foreign aid. Let's secede." That lasted about 2 days. Jimmy Carter put an end to that. There's a little history for you. Maybe it's fuzzy history. I don't remember the exact date, but I think it was around, it was 79 somewhere. But yeah, that was a crazy time. But I did get to Key West when it was the Conch Republic when it was seceded from the Union. So I've been out of the States. No, I've never. And I think I put my foot in Mexico in Juarez when I was traveling in El Paso. So in Texas.
I used to work in Juarez.
What? So I
used to work in Juarez. Yep.
In old Mexico. So
yeah, when I was in Albuquerque I was a sales engineer, right? And a lot of the American big companies would have what they call maquiladores, which were big twin plants across the border from El Paso and Juarez. So these huge production facilities making all these goods. And what I did at that time supported that. So if you were willing to go across the border, which I tell you was not fun, and if you were hopefully coming back every night, you could make a good living going across the border. So I did it for years. And then finally, in 2006, my daughter was born. CNN said that Juarez was the murder capital of the world. I wrote a letter to my VP and said, I'm not going to Juarez anymore. And they shut down operations. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as we come to the end of this podcast, I mean, I know I've taken a lot of your time. We actually get right back to the beginning because it seems like a lot of cars, a lot of automotive is heading down to Mexico and further south. And your daughter being in Toyota, she's going to have to learn about, the auto industry. Does anybody use steel, Pittsburgh steel? Is there even Pittsburgh steel anymore? Or is it all coming from other parts of the world? Are these things?
There's a couple places still going, couple places, but not anywhere near what it used to be. A couple people still work in some places, yeah, but not anything like it used to be. No.
Well, last year I went north of the Mason-Dixon for the first time ever in my life. I went to Detroit, and I watched. Cool. I saw a city in strife, old buildings, Ford, Chevy, GMC, Mopar. All these buildings in decay. Yeah. No one's using these buildings. And this was back 30, 40, 50 years ago. That was it, man. The car industry was awesome. Steel and iron and just we had so many resources and people, the most important resource that were pulling this stuff out of the ground and making things out of it. I don't think we're doing that anymore, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you're making music and I'm glad that you're putting stuff, you're inspiring people in different ways, playing your music, but are we getting inspired to build things? Are we building anything? Is your daughter the last bastion of freedom? She's going to build cars for us because there has to be a Toyota here in the United States somewhere that's manufacturing. Is there?
Yeah. And the trades, I mean, they're talking about the trades trying to come back. And my daughter's one of those, people in that generation that's trying to bring the trades back and trying to, work with our hands. Like you said, build the infrastructure and make things American made. So she's hopefully in that.
Well, one of my favorite movies with Michael Keaton was that Gung Ho, where he was trying to save his little town, his little car manufacturing town, which is beautiful. And, I wonder, and not to get, it's things that are on my mind and maybe they're on your mind too, but is this country going to survive? I know the world will survive whether we're here or not. The earth will spin, but I'm worried about the future and our daughters, our 18-year-old daughters' place in it. What can they expect? What did we leave for them, or what are we leaving for them? I mean, I'm only 54 or 55. You're only 54. We're still young men. We got a lot of years left in us.
Yeah. We could correct some things.
Yeah. We still got some stuff to do.
I don't know. they're going to be adaptable. They're going to adapt to whatever situation they're put in. They'll just be adaptable.
That's America. Overcome, adapt. No, but that's beautiful, man. Hey, I appreciate all the music that you're putting out there. If you go to the YouTube page, you could see a lot of the video work that you've done. That's a quick way to peruse it. And then there's the Spotify, but the main page you need to go to is the Michael Botte Band.com. You got all your social media up there. Tell me, as a child of the 80s who's growing up and trying to figure out all this social media, are you doing all the posting yourself, or do you have a team that helps you build the Michael Botte Band brand?
Yeah, it's a good question. So Big Records, second snippets, and got a couple of software packages. So I do everything completely on my own, and I just like it that way. It's part of the process. It's just I want to be involved, and I want to create things, and no different than songwriting. I want to be part of the creation process. So I want to make the videos, and they're okay with that. Of course, they're fine with it. So I do everything myself.
And back up, because you got cut off when you said Big Records did what?
Big Records does have services to do those kind of things, but for me, I just do everything myself.
That's fantastic, man. He's a one-man band. He's the Michael Botte Band. But you know, do you at least have a group of people in town that you could play without if you had to?
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh, I could make a call tomorrow and have a band. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Any shows coming up? Anything that people can go out in the Pennsylvania area and see Michael Botte live? Or they just have to wait for the studio session?
Nothing on the docket. If you want to hear the music, and I hope you do, it's on the streaming services.
That's beautiful, man. Hey, being the businessman that you are you making some money on this business we call show? Because I'm guessing that people aren't making money on the streaming, but maybe on the merch. Is there Michael Botte merch that people can bought? See what I did there?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, there actually is. Believe it or not, Dan, thank you for asking. There is. If you go right to my website, there's a merch store link.
Yes,
matter of fact, I have the shirt on right here. It's music. So I use the hashtag music is my therapy. That's the reason why I do all of this. Writing and playing music for me is my therapy. People do different things to get them through the day. For me, music is my therapy. So I made a little design and put that on the shirt, and that's all it says is music is my therapy.
I love it, man. And then your great logo. The MBB logo. Did you design that logo yourself?
I did, yeah. Just screwing around.
Man, you're good. See? Now, okay. You were talking about DJs you were talking to. When I first started, it was 2 turntables and a microphone. Now I got to be the MC. Now I got to bring the lights. Now I got to bring the PA. Now I got to bring I'm not mad.
Yeah.
I'm not mad, but it's just more and more stuff. And thankfully, you're the singer-songwriter and maybe carry your guitar, but your poor daughter with the drum kit, she's got to bring that whole thing and set it up on a stage. It takes so much time. Is she electronic or is she hitting the skins?
Kit is up in her bedroom right now. She couldn't get rid of it. Like, she was going to get rid of it because we weren't playing anymore, but she just couldn't get rid of it. So it's up in her bedroom right now. So hopefully we'll pull it out again. I don't know. Kids change their minds. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Well, that just means in the back of her head, she wants to be a part of the Michael Botte Band. She wants to be the part of the. She might say, "Dad, you're going to need to drop the Michael and just call it Botte Band."
Yeah, that'd be way cooler, right?
All right, my man. I know this isn't the last time we want to talk. I want to talk to you again as time progresses. If you do have shows that are coming out, if you have more music that's coming out, my goodness, you have something that's coming out very soon, and I'm already ready for the next thing to come out from Michael Botte. Okay, that's good. What's next? That's good. What's next? Bigger, better, faster, more. We learned that in the 80s as well. That's for sure. Excess and want more. But, give some shout outs to people that have helped you along the way. I know you've already talked about Big Records a little bit, and you talked about your producer, and you talked about the fella that helped you learn how to play guitar in San Francisco. But if you want to repeat those things, that's fine. The people that have helped you along the way, shout out time.
Yeah, big shout out time. Obviously, Big Records. Like I said before, without my producer, Bob Beals from Sound Foundation Studios, none of this would be possible. But I do have to give credit to another radio DJ, and I'll tell just a quick story. So one of my songs, Leave This Town, we mentioned it earlier. You said it was a little more upbeat and kind of happy and fun. And so Blast FM, Blast Music 24/7, Blast FM, gentleman named DJ V, Troy. He heard that song. I don't know where he heard it, but I was on the podcast interview with him, kind of like this. And a couple of the other DJs, kind of listened in, and they just really liked that song for whatever reason. And then DJ Veep, Troy, goes to the ISSA Awards down in Atlanta, meets Mark Rosner from the CEO of Big Records, and says, "Hey, I just heard this song from this guy, Michael Botte guy, whatever. I think you got to meet him." So simply because of that one particular song, you know how this goes. This story is told 1,000 times. A DJ heard a song, liked it, told the CEO of a record company, "You should talk to this guy." Here I am. So I'm giving a shout out to Blast FM, Blast Music, Troy, DJ Veep. I appreciate you, brother.
That's been my job since 1986 to break out artists, whether I'm playing on terrestrial radio, online radio, or at a club. Like this weekend at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, my little club that I play at every Friday night, I'll be playing some Michael Botte songs up on the video screen. And people are going to go, "Hey, who is that?" "Oh, that's Michael Botte." And you get a couple of more ears. People are going to look him up on their phones and go, "Oh, yeah, let me add him on Facebook and Instagram." Well, I don't even know if you have an Instagram, but you have a Twitter. Do you have an Instagram?
I do.
Good. Because
it's all Michael Botte Band. Yeah, it's all the same stuff. Yeah.
See, that's branding, baby. See, you know what you're doing. So, hey, big ups to DJ Veep. Fantastic for putting you together with Mark Rosner. Any more shout outs for the people?
Oh, there's so many. Like I said, my wife and daughter who put up with this rock and roll fantasy of mine. That's kind of becoming a little bit of reality, here and there. And certainly just actually the people who listen to me, the followers on Facebook, I don't know however many thousands there are, and all the people that listen and just really support indie music. And really, the indie radio stations, podcasters like you, there is such a symbiosis that we have. I need you, you need me. So there's just such a relationship that we have. And I must say, my music's been played on thousands of stations around the world. I'm so fortunate. That's something that I wanted to kind of focus on, try to build the momentum, if you will. And the radio stations have been so kind. Matter of fact, I just sent out my new release, which is coming Friday. I got a song. I just sent it out today to quite a few stations, and I'm already getting emails back saying, "Thank you, loved it, going to play it." So that just makes me so happy. And hopefully there's a lot more.
Well, one of those thank yous was from me, from radiowhat.com.
You probably got the email today. You probably did if you looked at your email.
I did. I'm looking at the song right now, and I'm looking right there. On the list. I'm looking right there at the radio station that's going to be playing that as soon as we get off this podcast. So I need to just take the thumb drive and take it from this computer throw it on that computer. So I took a listen to it. It's beautiful, man. All right. Let's finish this thing off. I know we've taken about an hour. I usually like to keep these things down to about an hour. I've had one that was over 5 hours, and I said, "Well, I'm not Rogan, man. That's way too long." So, we'll keep it to bite size so people can take a listen and learn more about Michael Botte. I encourage everybody to go off to the website and then go out to the social medias from there, especially the YouTube, because you're a teacher. Whether you know it or not, you are a teacher. You're teaching people about chord progression and about production, and I suspect that there's going to be more of that in the future, more of that coming up on your YouTube page and even on your website. All right, my man. I always finish these things off with last words for the people. This could be words to live by. This could be something you heard a long time ago, maybe a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Michael Botte of the Michael Botte Band, give the last words for the people.
Last words. Love on an indie musician. That's it. Love on an indie musician.
Well, there you have it, party people. Michael Botte of the Michael Botte Band. Check him out at michaelbotteband.com. That's Michael, common spelling, Botte, Botte, band.com. michaelbotteband.com. And, check out his songs, see if you like them, and then head straight over to the merch table and buy some merch. Because that's how people are making their money these days. He's got a nice shop on Etsy, his nice Etsy shop, selling those T-shirts. That's the only way. Bands aren't making money on streaming anymore. And I know there's a few people that are selling records and CDs. I don't know if any of these songs will ever be pressed on vinyl or even put on a CD. But the streaming, I mean, you could buy some songs on iTunes and maybe he'll make a couple of cents off of that. Or you could stream it on Spotify about 1 billion times and maybe he'll make $1. But if you buy one of his t-shirts, maybe he'll make $5-10. Hey, how about that? And if you go to his shows, yeah, hopefully we get some Michael Botte shows. Make sure you check out the website. Stay tuned and find out if he's going to be playing anywhere near you. And that's if near you, especially if near you is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So, yeah. And just listen to that music. Become a fan. Stalk Michael Botte and let him know that you're out there. Send him a message. Let him know. Show him some love. And if you're a musician, hey, man, maybe he'll collaborate with you. There might be a Michael Botte joint venture in your near future. But check out Radiate and then the new song that's coming up. Oh, let me check in my new folder here. Like I said, I just got that. Oh, I got a song. Michael Botte, I got a song. Simple as that. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So thank you so much, Michael Botte, for being on the podcast, the What Makes You Famous podcast. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, yes, you, my loyal listener, would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's keysdan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.